mother. Nothing's gonna stop us now.
I would like to share with you 3 tools for your race to the finish line. And I would like to share with you some experiences I made on 3 trips. Let's start right away. The first story happens in Burma, Myanmar. So among others, I'm working as a photojournalist, and this is my 6th trip to Burma. I already have a constant multimedia story in one of Germany's most acknowledged magazines, which is Geo. But now I wanted to raise the bar a little. I would like to gain for National Geographic. So therefore I was looking in this country I already know well for lesser known destinations. And I find one. It's the river Chintwin up there. And there's hardly any photo material, hardly any reportage about this river. But inside my mind, I saw like an opener double page from an upcoming National Geographic story. That was my expectation. So I took my Burmese assistant, Ton, and we fly up to Kamti. And this is the main road of Kamti. Well, glamour looks different. So day 1, we get on the boat in order to go down this river for a couple of days. And here you can see the boat, which is our home for the next 4 days. Ton and me, we have the luxury of a private cabin. It's over there in the front. And we have to share it with 2 more people. It's so small that you only can sit in there or lie. When you want to go to the toilet, which is at the very end, we have to go alongside the boat mainly when it's under full steam. And the toilet itself is just like 4 walls around a hole. The next hours, nothing really special happened. So people got off the boat, got on the boat. The landscape is not too promising. The light is not too good. It's overcast. Okay, day 2, it's like day 1. No interesting landscape, no events on the boat nor on the river shore, and the light is bad. Day 3. To make it short, same as day 1. No landscape, no events, no light. Except I welcome a new guest on board. It is my inner critic. It is my inner observer. I call him Gifty in German, or Toxi in English. Maybe you know what I'm talking about. And my inner critic, Gifty Toxi, is always commenting. He's always observing, and he always has a very strong opinion. I'll give you like 3 examples. First example is, you know, you don't have any motive right now. This is all crap. You should have known all of this before. You're such a failure. And you know, Gifty Toxi, he's a specialist when it comes to predictions. He says to me, Malte, you will never gonna make it. And even worse, I started to believe him. Wherever I looked, I saw nothing but red, bad, Toxi stuff. And Toxi got bigger, like this red balloon. I blew him up. So level 1 is thinking bad thoughts. I was already in stage 2. Speaking out loud, bad stuff. Oh no, the weather is bad. The diesel engine, it stinks. Get out of my way, I need to see the toilet. And nothing but red, toxic stuff in front of me. Street psychology has an expression for this. It's called assholish behavior. So here I was, day 4. To make it short, same as day 1, except this monk here, he was observing me, and he said, "Come here, sit by my side. What is up? You're not in a good mood." So I followed his invitation, and I explained him my situation. And then he told me a story. And the story was like this. The Burmese farmer. Once upon a time, there was a Burmese farmer. He only had 1 horse. One day, the horse ran away. And all the neighbors came around and said, "Oh, that's too bad." And the farmer said, "Maybe." The next day, the horse came back with 3 wild horses. And the neighbors came around and said, "Oh, it's great, now we have like 4 horses." And he said, "Maybe." The next day, the farmer's son was trying to tame one of the horses, and he was already on the back, but then this horse threw him off, and he broke his leg. Again, the neighbors came around and said, "Oh, that's too bad, he can't help you anymore." And the farmer said, "Maybe." The next day, the military officers came to the farmer's house, and they were looking for young men for the upcoming war. And they saw his son and said, "We cannot make any use of him." So they went off. And the neighbors came around and said, "Oh, you still have your son?" And the farmer said, "Maybe." So universal nature is a process of immense complexity. It's so hard to say that anything that happens in there is good or bad, because we do not know the consequences of anything which we label as good or bad. So back to my situation. What I did see was my expectation, my National Geographic double page. And what I felt and saw was the disappointing present, the reality. And this delta between expectation and present, that caused my negative feelings. A red cocktail of gifty, toxic stuff. And I labeled it as failure. What I did not see was that failing is only an event. It's a part. It's not the whole story. It's not my character trait. It's temporary. That means it will not last forever. And failing is part of every good story. Failing is a chapter. It means it's in progress, but we're not yet at the finish line. If you look at any kind of good story, like let's take Star Wars. You know, if you're a Star Wars fan, on the cloud city of planet Bespin, Luke Skywalker engages Darth Vader in this lightsaber duel. And what happened? Darth Vader cut off Skywalker's arm. What a setback. Or take Lord of the Rings. This attack from the Nazgul. Frodo Baggins was seriously hurt and injured. And later there was this giant spider, Kankra, which stuns Frodo and wraps him in a cocoon. And then the orcs carry Frodo away in one of his towers. Frodo as well, he suffers from a lot of setbacks. So failing is a label. It's not the ingredient. It's not the content. It's feedback. It means this does not work. I can go another direction. It's learning. It's growth. And I did not see this. So failing, let's get a little deeper here. So failing is part of our human nature. You know this when you have kids and they are toddling around, they stumble, they fall, and they get up and continue. So everyone experiences these setbacks, and it's just impossible to get by in life without these setbacks. And here's my first tool for you. It's radical acceptance. That means whatever puts life on a silver tablet and serves you, that's the reality. Accept first. Take what is. That does not mean that you should become ignorant or passive. But try to keep gifty at a distance. When he's getting too close, then you melt and merge with his negative emotions. You don't want this. Radical acceptance refuses gifty's anger offers. And then you can decide, evaluate, and stay actionable. So far for radical acceptance. So before we get further, let me introduce myself. So who am I to tell you something here today? I'm Malte, and my career started with a diploma in business communication and an MBA in media management. During the last 25 years, I had the chance to support more than 40 digital projects in 12 countries, for clients like these. And this is what made me a business consultant. From 2004, my family and me, so my wife, my 2 daughters, we began to travel extensively. In 3 trips, altogether 18 months, we discovered the beauties of Southeast Asia. So we stayed in Burma, in Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, Bali, and so on. And during this time, I rediscovered my passion for photography. And I took thousands of pictures. And this is what made me a photographer. In more than 40 publications, among them the German publications Geo, Zeit, Spiegel, we told other people about our family travel experiences. That needed that I get involved into a new domain, writing. So I became a writer. In film and photo shows, we reported more than 19,000 people in Germany, Austria, Switzerland about our experiences. And we encouraged families to fulfill and tackle their travel dreams. And this is what made me a speaker. And each of these travel experiences gave me the courage to raise my personal bar a little bit more. So with the acceptance of my family, I went out and went into this kind of expeditions. Here I was with the Sri Lanka native people, the Wedda, for a couple of days, away from civilization, without electricity or running water. Or here, this is the rainforest of Sumatra. This is where the Tiger Conservation Unit of the WWF works. So I join one of the patrols in the tiger habitat, feeling a little bit out of place. And together, we shy away poachers, and we destroy illegal traps, and we collect data. We do not see a single Sumatra tiger, not even tracks. But another animal came very close. While I bathe in the river, it lurks in the ground, covered by sand, and then snaps. This is a soft-shelled turtle, Weichschildkröte. It has sharp beaks, and they are carnivores. Well, from time to time, you have to be able to part with something. So it looks worse than it was, so I wrapped a bandage around it and could walk on just like the next hour. And so I climbed a rooftop in the, not rooftop, a treetop in the Brazilian Amazon. I went to one of the largest caves of the world in Vietnam for 5 days. And I went to Iceland in order to have there a swim in one of these glacial lagoons. So this, to me, was a good way to turn the unknown, to dissolve fears, and explore more of my personal reach and territory. And this is how I became a personal explorer and adventurer. Okay, second story, South Africa. So this human chain made of 9 people, they set off from Makuleke camp in South Africa's Kruger National Park. It is headed by this gentleman here, Bruce Lawson, and he's the head guide and head trainer, and he's followed by Nepomuk, his deputy. And both, they work as educators for one of the biggest training institutes for field guides and rangers. And they are followed by these 6 people. And these 6, they want to become field guides and rangers. And this is the last module, the last course before the exam. It's called the Wilderness Skills Course. And we are out in the bush for 4 days on foot. And the 2 head guides, they try to make some encounters with wild animals in order to observe the aspiring ones that they show correct behavior. So Bruce and Nepomuk, they carry heavy guns, loaded, because in case when a lion, an elephant, a buffalo approaches, they need to use them without hesitation. And the third in line is the complete greenhorn of this entire chain, me. I have no idea about the bush. I have no idea about animals. The only thing I want to do is producing a reportage about this education. It was day 3, around 9 a.m. A lioness appears in our range of vision. She's like 25 meters away. And slowly, she turns her head towards us, and then she's doing something I will never forget in my life. She roars, and it's so loud, I almost shit my pants. My heart started bumping. I could the heartbeat in my ears. I was so afraid. She could be here like in 4 seconds. But then she turned her head away, walks on, and disappears. That was one of the scariest moments of my life. And why? Because I had a complete misconception of the situation. I was not knowing. I was not knowing that the lioness is not on a hunt. I was not knowing that she is just checking the terrain for the lion pride, which follows like 300, 400 meters behind. So not knowing fuels fear. I simply did not know what to do in case of a lion charge. And then I learned, in case the lion is trying to attack you, you do not run away. Don't do this. When you run away, you show yourself as a flight animal. And then the lion knows, this is yummy lunch. You have to stay on the spot, shit your pants if need, claim your space, shout at the lion, allow space for him to turn off. And I understood, learn or die. As humans, we are learning experts, and in scientific terms, we are adaptation experts. So Charles Darwin said, it's not the strongest of the species that survives, but rather that which is most adaptable to change. So, as sales managers, as leaders, you have to learn new skills, new knowledge. You have to explore new markets, identify clients' needs, and figure out, maybe this is what you like about this job. And over the last decades, I discovered this kind of pattern, and I nurtured it, and it's I can figure it out. I can figure it out. This kind of attitude helps me to bring almost everything within reach. It helped me to become a photographer, a writer, a speaker, whatever. I can figure it out. And so can you. I think it's a great tool. When you know that it's humanly possible, then you can do it. You're a human. It allows you to constantly extend your personal reach, your skills, and it keeps also gifty at a distance. I can figure it out. And I think that I can figure it out it's part of the good stuff, symbolized by this green ball. And I even think it's the same size as this one, but we only blew things up. But I believe in the good stuff. So far I can figure it out. The third story, Venezuela. Venezuela was the number one on my bucket list for years. And only at the fourth attempt last year in May, I managed to get there. Before, it was simply too dangerous, or it was the pandemic. Before we get to the topic, I'd like to share some images with you. So, in Venezuela, you find the Salto Angel. It's the largest waterfall of the world. It's 979 meters from the bottom till the top. Scientists called it the eighth wonder of the world. It was only discovered in 1993. Salto Angel is located here in the Canaima National Park. And this national park is also famous for something else, the so-called table mountains, or tabletop mountains. And here you can see the I-1 Tipui. And this is us on the boat, and this is a drone shot. And Arthur Conan Doyle was inspired by these mountains and the scenery for his book, The Lost World. And that book also inspired Steven Spielberg for Jurassic Park. And then later, James Cameron got inspired by this cloud tops there. And Inspired by this, he created this great scenery where the Na'vi people in his movie Avatar, where they fly around with the dinosaur birds. And I would like to get on top of one of these table mountains. There are 115, but you can climb on top only with 4 on foot. To get there, you need like 2 days of driving. And to give you an idea about Venezuela, it's not the easiest travel country. So gas is subsidized, but in order to get it, you have to wait for hours, even days. So it's easier to fill up your tank in one of these illegal stations. And we got like 13 checkpoints by the military before we got to where we started our hike to the Table Mountains. Day 1, so to the hike, the fantastic views. This is especially things which I love, where the rocks and the clouds where they mingle. And we get closer to the giant wall of the Roraima. The Roraima is the biggest table mountain. Day 3 is the hardest. Things get more steep, and you have slippery rocks and stones, and you need a lot of balance and endurance. Here you can see one of our porters. And this is one of the key spots. You have to walk right underneath a waterfall, which sprays like a shower. And sun and clouds, everything is changing within minutes. That's me during a breather. And on top, it's a fantastic mystical biosphere. But that was not the challenge. The challenge came later, 4 days later, when I was a guest in an eco-lodge, which is run by a very sweet German couple, Gabi and Norbert. And while I was going out in the garden to check the lodge a little bit, there were huge insects flying around me, like, and I was looking closer, and I found out it's not insects, it's hummingbirds, colibris. Now I wanted to show you a colibri picture, but I was simply not able to catch a single picture. I got frustrated. No, I radically accepted. And the evening, I was asking Norbert, and he said, you could have asked me. I've wrote a book about colibris. So here it is. And he said, well, you can feed the colibris. This is what I do in a lodge which is like 1 hour away from here. So I created a special nutrient liquid, and I put it in reservoirs, and then the colibris come close, they figure out how to drink. I said, but I would like to have a picture from a colibri which is flying. And then Norbert said, yeah, you can do it. You need 4 flashes from each side. And then you need a very short exposure. It's a 1/8,000th of a second, because the colibri movement is so fast. It's like 60 times a second. And then you need a special power supply to provide enough energy. And I said, I don't have it. But I had this will to try it anyway. So Norbert brought me to that place. And then I marveled. I sat down, and I took picture after picture for hours. And then it's about 1,000 images, even more. And I screened them all. It's about, 3 pictures were left, which were sharp enough and met my compositional requirements. And only 1 made it into a magazine later, without flash. Thanks. The tool here which helped me is decision. I believe decisions change everything. I decided to not stop, to get there, and I decided to press the button for like more than 1,000 times. Because I know that the law of large numbers, statistics, is on my side. I decided for endurance. So doing is key, but I think decision is even keyer. Before a decision is before any kind of action. Actions show us who we are. It's not what we say or believe, it's what we do. So to sum it all up for you, when you see nothing but red, bad, toxic stuff, which covers the good stuff in your life, I think that's a bad decision. But if you radically accept and keep the toxic stuff far away, then you see an equilibrium of both. You can figure out how to get the good stuff even closer to you. So close that you don't see any bad stuff anymore. And I think that is a good decision.
And we say thank you to Malte for this very inspiring keynote speech. Thank you very much. Malte.